Welcome to this episode of Ink It Up with Jessica TV. Today I want to talk to you about the different types of stamps and tips for using them, and maybe even how to decide what kind of stamp works best for you. So the oldest type of stamp, and the most common, is the wood-mounted stamp. It looks like this. It's got a wood block, and then it has a rubber stamp on the back. So it has a label on it so you can see what you're stamping. And from Stampin' Up, these now come in cases that are all the same size like this, so they're easy to store. But when you get them from Stampin' Up, you do need to assemble them yourself. So you'll notice you get a sheet of labels. You also get a sheet of the rubber stamps, as well as blocks. Now for this stamp set, it doesn't make much of a difference because there's only a few blocks that are a little bit smaller. Otherwise, the blocks are all the same size. What I like to do when I get a wood mount stamp set, though, is to first punch out all of my pieces and make sure that I can match them up to the different blocks, because you don't want to start assembling them and get to the last piece and you don't have a block that fits the stamp you have. So first I like to match them all up, and then to assemble them, you want to just find your label. And let's see, this one says Hippity Hoppity. So I'm going to find the label for that, peel it off, put it on one side of the wood block, and it doesn't matter which side, both sides are the same. I'm going to flip that over, and you want to just make sure when you peel this backing off and stick down your rubber stamp that you're putting it the same way as the label. And again, it's going to look backwards on here. And there, your rubber stamp is ready to use. I like the wood mount rubber stamps for these little itty bitty sayings because I don't have to put them on a block. They're already ready to go and I can just take them out and use them. So I do still use some wood mount stamps and blocks, but I've also gone a lot to the clear mount stamps. The nice thing about the clear mount stamps is that they are the same as the wood mount in that they are the red rubber, and you get a really good stamped image with these. The nice thing about them, though, is they come in skinnier cases. Now, this stamp set actually has two cases because it's so big, but a lot of times they'll just come in one skinny case, really easy to store, same size as a DVD case, so they fit nicely on DVD racks. The difference with these is you are going to have one clear block or one set of clear mount blocks that you're going to use with them. Once you have a clear mount block, you can use it with a whole bunch of different stamps. So the benefit of that is, especially if you go to a lot of crops or take your stamps with you places, these are much easier to tote along with you because they're not as heavy as taking a wood mount stamp set. You can also fit a lot more of them into a smaller amount of space. So that when these come, it's the same thing except for there's no wood mount block. So you actually put the labels directly onto here. Now, some people have problems getting their clear mount stamps to stick. So there's a few different options for that. One is to not put the label on in the first place. Now, I don't like to do it this way, but you certainly can. And the reason I don't like to do it is once you take this off, this is not real sticky, but sticky enough so it sticks really nicely to the clear block. The reason that I don't like this is because then I don't know what I'm stamping, and I like to be able to see that. So I always put the label on. Now sometimes when you put the label on and all you're going to do, you want to leave it on the sheet here and just take off this paper backing, and then your label is going to be sticky. Oops, and that I just tore right off. Best case scenario, you leave it down on here so that you can match your stamp up. That's not going to work this time, so I'm just going to pick this up and try to line it up this way. I always tend to have to trim down my labels too because I don't get them lined up perfectly. Once you have your label on, then your stamp is ready to use. You just want to put it on a clear block. Now, if your stamp is not sticking how you want it to on your clear block, what you're going to want to do first is clean it. There's a cloth that you can get. You just want to wipe it down until all of the adhesive residue and oils are off of it. That might help it stick better. If you're still having problems, what I have discovered recently is if you use some of this, it's called cling vinyl. I got it off of Amazon and it's just clear. It comes in full sheets, and what you want to do is just cut it down to the size of your block. If you put some of this cling vinyl onto your block, and you can just keep it on here, your stamps are going to stick much better. It just adds an extra cling to it. So that is a great way to get your clear mount stamps to stick better. The third kind of stamp is called Photopolymer, and it's an all totally clear stamp set. Comes in the same types of cases as these. If it's a smaller set, it'll come in the narrow case. If it's a bigger set, it'll come in the wider case. These stamps are totally clear. Now they look black because what you're seeing is a printed label right here. But once you take the stamps off to use them, they are totally clear. You can see through them. So again, you're going to mount these on a clear mount block. You're going to need different sizes. But you can see that you can totally see through to what you're stamping. So that is one benefit of the photopolymer stamps. One thing I have found is that you don't need to push as hard when you are stamping with these. You really just need to ink it up and give it a light pressure, and you'll get a nice image. If you push too hard, I found that it kind of blurs the edges and doesn't give as crisp an image. So that's just a couple tips for using these stamps. So I hope that this video has helped you and you will be able to pick out the type of stamps that you want to use and the ones that work best for you.